2. Oh, yeah, it works. Okay. Właściwie to bardzo dobry pomysł. Okay. Hello, hi, hello everybody. Hello, hi. I think it's time to start. Sorry for the slight delay, but it's, well, we fit in quarters, so still on time, yes? Okay, thank you very much that you're here. It's so happy to see you all. And first, we have this greetings and opening part, so it is my great honor and great privilege to greet you all in the walls of University of Warsaw, Faculty of Journalism and Book Studies. And I'm more than happy to see you here, dear friends, dear guests, dear colleagues. So this event, the Knowledge Community, University and Emma Hub, means, and I have to read it because there's a lot of numbers, 18 countries, 40 researchers in total, 3 round tables, 3 workshops with 4 thematic tracks and 1 brand new meeting format. But these are just numbers. Basically, it's all about the people and all about relations, cooperation, collaboration that crosses the boundaries and joins us together here in this building to work on such important topic as war in Ukraine. So that said, I would like to greet our prominent guests and participants who are true friends to this event and to the faculty. So first of all, welcome, dear Professor Zbigniew Lalak, Vice Rector for Research. Zygmunt, oh, sorry, it's all about the stress. Zygmunt Lalak, Vice Rector of University of Warsaw. Welcome, dear Professor. Thank you for being here. I think I'm going to be correct now. I'm so sorry. Mr. Dean, Professor Janusz Adamowski, Dean of the Faculty of Journalism. Professor Castulus, Kolo, President of EMA, but also President of Macromedia, University of Applied Science. Thank you very much for being here. Professor Maria Łoszewska-Łowska, Vice Dean of our faculty. Thank you for being here. Mr. Kamil Dąbrowa, spokesperson of Warsaw City Hall. Thank you very much for being here. And dear Katarzyna Stakuń, Head of Department at the City Marketing Bureau of Warsaw, thank you for being here. Mr. Jakub Kuczmer from Warsaw Convention Bureau and Michał Różycki, Director of the Press Office at the Foundation of the Institute of Eastern Studies. So thank you very much for being here. And of course, last but not least, and this is almost the end of my very short introduction, I cordially also welcome you, my dear friends, from north, south, eastern part of Europe. And hi, I'm gonna read it right now. So hi Belgium, hi Bulgaria, hi Czechia, hi Denmark, Estonia, Finland, Germany, Greece, Latvia, Lithuania, Moldova, Poland, of course, Romania, Slovakia, Sweden, Turkey, and United Kingdom. And especially, hello, hi, greetings to our Ukrainian colleagues from Lviv, Kiev, Mariupol, Odessa, and Dnipro. And thank you for being here, and without you, there would be no success of this event. Thank you very much, and thank you that you're here. So now I would like to give a floor to Vice Rector and ask him for few welcoming and warm words. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Well, good morning everyone on this beautiful morning. It's a great pleasure to welcome you at the premises of the University of Warsaw in this historic building. Presently the headquarters of the famous Department of Journalism, Information and Book Studies. I would like to excuse myself for my strange first name. I mean, this is always a problem. Unfortunately, I got it after my father, and he got it after my grandfather, so I keep it. However, I fully understand the trouble which it brings to everyone around. It's as I said, it's actually a great pleasure honor and privilege to be here, to be present at the commencement of such a spectacular event, which brought together distinguished scientists from many countries, and also which brought to us, to the University of Warsaw, so many young people who want to learn from distinguished scholars and who will become distinguished scholars pretty soon. The University of Warsaw is an ambitious university. We are 200 years old, but we are very young in our spirits. So we have the ambition to create here in Warsaw the truly research-based university with influence spread over the whole Europe and whole world. So we are very much supporting events like this one, events which bring to us guests, scholars, visitors, students, PhD students from other countries, from all over the world. Ourselves, University of Warsaw, became a few years ago a member of the global association, Global Alliance, European Alliance of Universities, which is known, perhaps many of you have heard that name, 4EU Plus Alliance. I mean, it brings together this, well, great universities, great European universities, and this includes not only University of Warsaw, but Charles University from Prague, Sorbonne University from Paris, Heidelberg University, Copenhagen, the University of Copenhagen, University of Milan, recently University of Geneva joined the ranks of the membership of this alliance. So we are trying to build a strong position of the University of Warsaw on the international arena. We are building the reputation of the University of Warsaw as a very strong, important research center. And this research, the research includes not only sciences, so-called hard sciences, like physics, chemistry, mathematics, informatics, but also social sciences and humanities. And we are really pleased over the recent years overseeing the expansion of the activities in those areas, in social sciences and in humanities. I mean, those areas are becoming international as well. The projects which are run within within humanities, arts and humanities and social sciences, those projects are becoming more and more international, more and more universal in their meaning. And we are really happy to see that happening in front of our eyes, and the university, the rector and the management of the university were strongly supporting this type of activities. As you know, we are running at this time at the university a big program called Excellence in Research. And this is a project which permits the whole tissue of the university, so which is realized in parallel in essentially all university units and all departments in all disciplines, and of course the famous department of journalism is an important part of that effort, and I hope it will continue to be such an important player for the years to come. I am also very happy to learn that the topic of this conference is a very timely topic. I mean, is the topic, the research-oriented topic, which also has a sound meaning for the whole society, for all of us. I mean, in terms of the influence of what's happening in Ukraine on our everyday life and on the way our country is functioning for the last year and a half. So it is great pleasure to welcome here in this lecture room representatives of the Ukrainian higher education establishments. It is great to see that scientific research and scientific collaboration between Poland and Ukraine is still active, develops actually. And this is also a strong point in the policy of the University of Warsaw. From the day one, from the 24th of February of 2022, the university offered unlimited support to Ukrainian people and to all operations of the Ukrainian government. And that support is extended beyond assisting in research projects. I mean, that was also social support, that was support in the ways of learning, of help offered in learning Polish language, in help offered in finding jobs, and means of survival in our country, in Warsaw area, and this help continues. I mean, it's not anymore so visible as in the first days, but this help, this effort continues, and we are still admitting Ukrainian students, we are admitting Ukrainian postdocs, and we are welcoming collaborators who are affiliated with Ukrainian higher learning institutions. And this will continue to be so. We are offering continuous and anonymous support to Ukrainian nation, to Ukrainian researchers, to Ukrainian people as much as we are able to offer, as much as the limits of the operations of the university permit. So, saying that, I have to underline again that we are very happy that this particular event takes place in Warsaw, takes place at the university, that the members of the university community will participate in this important and timely discussion. We all know that essentially media shape our knowledge these days, that even though Poland is so close to Ukraine, I mean, what we learn is mostly via media, via TV and press reports, and this is an important thing, to learn how to use this information and this kind of reporting wisely. How to know how it shapes our imagination, our life, our behavior. I think this is a very important issue. Also, taking into account that there are other dangers which are not so far. There is presently a hot war in the Gaza Strip. I mean, there is still a lot of tension between China and Taiwan. So we should be prepared, and I am sure that this particular event is an important step in that direction. Once we understand what's going on, we could be better prepared for the forthcoming trouble. So finally, let me wish you a nice and pleasant meeting, despite the serious topic of the meeting. I hope you will enjoy those 2 days spent at the university and in Warsaw. This is a town which has a lot to offer, and I hope you will have a spare minute to benefit from those social opportunities which are offered by our wonderful city. So once again, I wish you a successful meeting. I should congratulate the organizers, Professor Jupowicz-Ginalska, for putting together such an engaging and interesting program. I wish you nice time, interesting discussions, a lot of networking. All the best.
Thank you very much, dear rector, dear professor. And now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Kamil Dąbrowa, spokesperson of Warsaw City Hall. Please, the floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and distinguished participants, on behalf of the Mayor of Warsaw, Rafał Trzaskowski, and the entire city of Warsaw, It is with great pleasure and honor that I welcome you to the opening of the conference hosted by the European Media Management Association in organization with the University of Warsaw. We gather here today to embark on a journey of knowledge, discovery and collaboration. This conference hosted under the banner of University and Emma Hub and within the vibrant city of Warsaw stands as a testament to our commitment to fostering dialogue and understanding on matters of migration, multidisciplinary research and the global challenges that bind us together. In the heart of our beautiful city, where history intertwines with innovation, where diversity is celebrated and where ideas flourish, we are truly honored to host such a distinguished gathering of scholars, experts, and thought leaders from many countries. This conference provides a platform to explore and exchange insights that transcends borders, cultures, and disciplines. It is through such collaborative efforts that we can aspire to address the complex issues of our time. In a world where individuals' ideas and aspirations traverse boundaries, understanding of migration is paramount. It is our collective responsibility to engage in thoughtful discussions, share research findings, and shape policies that enhance the lives of the migrants and contribute to prosperity of our societies. As we convene over the course of this conference, I encourage you to embrace the diversity of perspectives, engage in constructive debates, and forge connections with will enrich your intellectual journey. The city of Warsaw, known for its historical resilience and its modern spirit of progress, is thrilled to play a part of facilitating this exchange of knowledge and ideas. And while you are here exploring the charming streets and soaking in the vibrant culture of Warsaw, we encourage you to enjoy your stay to the fullest. Spend your time here with enthusiasm and let the experience you gather become cherished memories. Our city welcomes you not only for this conference, but for the rich tapestry of experiences it has to offer. Shop, dine, and explore with open hearts, with open minds, knowing that your contribution is felt by our local community. In closing, I wish you all a wonderful, fruitful conference filled with meaning interactions, transformative insights, and lasting connections. May the discussions held here contribute not only to our understanding of migration, but also to the creation of more inclusive and interconnected world. Enjoy Warsaw and spend here as much money as you can. All the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the advice too. Thank you. And now I'm giving floor to Mr. Castulus Kolo, the president of European Media Management Association. Please, Castulus, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, dear hosts of this fantastic event, as president of EMMA, the European Media Management Association, I would like to express my gratitude that you made this gathering of academics and practitioners at the University of Warsaw possible. This is a very special, innovative event. You can tell already from the program structure, and it's quite complex title, but I will say something on it in a moment. First of all, let me also thank the representatives of the university, Professor Lalak, Professor Adamovsky, the representative of the city. I cannot mention all the names. I guess you have huge teams behind. Thank you for making this possible. But foremost, my thank goes to Anna, Professor Jupovic-Jinalska, for the inception of this event. And where is he? Michal Glowatsky. And a huge team for its detailing and its realization now. Dear colleagues from academia and from the media practice, and dear students, I see some of you there, it's an honor and a pleasure to have you all here to discuss an important topic, challenges for media in times of the war in the Ukraine. Sadly enough, making media in times of war is now an issue also in the newly erupted conflict in the Near East, with the Hamas attack on Israel and the suffering now of so many civilians on both sides, in Israel as well as among Palestinians. So we continue with this event, and I'm so grateful that we go on this journey. We continue with this event today, a discussion that we started in 2022, a few months after the war broke out, after the invasion, at the EMA conference in Munich. And it was very moving. We had a live stream from Kiev, and we have the news anchorman from German broadcasting. And people had tears in their eyes. It was so moving and so unexpected. Who was prepared for having a war so close at the center of Europe? But already back then, the challenges for making media in such times were quite evident. The constant danger journalists expose themselves to in a war zone, the psychological side effects, and the non-routine decision-making from newsrooms to the boardrooms. So today, for EMA, the European Media Management Association, this event, today and tomorrow, is seminal for a variety of reasons, actually. First of all, it will hopefully contribute to make EMA more diverse in terms of topics to be studied, but also in terms of academics to be involved. And particularly the region stretching out into the southeast of Europe was rarely represented on EMA's conferences. And there is still far too little exchange, in my opinion, between scholars from Western, Northern, and Central Europe with this region. So I'm happy to welcome guests, also from, at least so far, non-EU countries, the Ukraine, Moldova, and Turkey, in addition to participants from our already EU siblings from Bulgaria, Romania, and Greece. And of course, we are equally happy to have colleagues here from all other parts of Europe. A warm welcome to all of you. This event is also seminal for another reason. With this event, we try a new format, the so-called EMA Hub. I think it was you who came up with this term, with Michal, yeah? So I couldn't think of a more urgent, more suitable topic to inaugurate this new format of gatherings as to jointly investigate, discuss, and hence better understand how the media reacted on the war in Ukraine. We shall learn from that not only for the benefit of the sorely afflicted citizens of a country in war, but also beyond. Ultimately, and this is, I think, most important, we hope to foster by this new format new collaborations, institutional partnerships, as well as individual friendships. So this event also bridges academia and practice, thereby tying in with another strategic goal of EMA that we want to emphasize. As academics, we need this exposure to media industry to understand the current challenges, to derive relevant answers by our research, and to educate students as future media makers with the right competencies. And we have fantastic guests from Polish media here. We will have you later on the panel. The Emma Hub as a new format inaugurated today is here to stay. It shall address also new topics in the future that particularly benefit from this way of socializing and interacting. However, the topic, media management in times of war in the Ukraine, will also continue beyond this event, and this is important. This is just the kickoff of a series of activities. I'm happy also to welcome Professor Leona Achtenhagen from the Journal of Media Business Studies. You will have a special issue, and you will let us know more about it. I would also like to invite you already to the next Emma conference in Leeuwarden in the Netherlands in June next year, for which we encourage to submit, besides presentations or papers, also special sessions. And I think the outcome of this Emma Hub would be very suitable to be pursued in the context of such a session. In the meantime, we will have a virtual Emma talk with guests from Southeastern Europe, and Anna Jupovic-Trinalska will relate the discussion also to what we will experience in the next 2 days. So we shall embark now on a rewarding learning curve. We shall share knowledge, as the title says. We shall develop a sense of community in the knowledge share community on media and the war in Ukraine. I wish us 2 wonderful, enriching days of discussion, of academic discourse and community building. Enjoy. And with this said, I hand over to you, dear Anna, to guide us through the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear Castulus. This is almost the end of the official welcoming. Before we start the discussion panel with our wonderful guests from media industry, I would like to say big thank you to the team that not really helped me, but really co-organized all this event with me. And basically, we were like one body with a great several minds. Yes, so thank you very much for this. And I'm gonna read this. And please stand up. Just let everybody see you. Thank you for this. Michał Głowacki, please. Martyna, yes. Martyna Dodziak-Kisio, where are you? Martyna? Martyna's not here. She's working. I mean, she's working. She's preparing the workshops. But tell her I thought about her. Ksenia Wróblewska helps her too, I suppose. Malwina Żuchniewicz, Anita Zawisza, Kasia Iwanicka, Agnieszka Wojtukiewicz, Emilia Zakrzewska, Jacek Mikucki i Bogdan Andruszczenko. Thank you very much. And now I think we can move to next very important part of our meeting, the discussion panel. So we are changing a little bit, and I'm inviting our guests to sit here. We're going to talk about the media industry and how media industry reacted to the war in Ukraine. And we will have to connect via online with Maciej Sztykiel from RMF FM because he was diagnosed with some awful disease yesterday with the COVID. So, of course, he will join us in online, but he could not be here in person, which is quite understandable, of course. So now just a little bit of technical things, and Castulus will be the chair. It's great to have you here once again. But also we have wonderful panels. We have wonderful panel with media industry representatives, and I think that Castulus will guide us and guide you through the next steps. So I'm just moving away right now.
Hello? Okay, it works. Anna, we have just one, so we hand it over. Okay. So it's my great pleasure to welcome Marta Budzyńska from Polsat News, a private free TV broadcaster. You will let us know some more about you. And Katarzyna Kozłowska, Kasia, welcome here. Former editor-in-chief of Fakt, a tabloid in Poland here, and a subsidiary from Springer Ringier Corporation. And do we have the colleague? Not yet. Yeah, it's Jarosław Pioterczak from RMF MAXX. Yes, and he's a program director there. Can you hear us? Not yet. Well, so we have radio, TV, and newspapers here on the board. It's a great pleasure to have you here today, and we would like to explore together with you as experts from the media practice what it meant and what it still means today to make media in times of war. And I will guide you through the discussion in a kind of chronological order. We will start with day zero, how you experienced the invasion, the morning of the invasion, how you reacted, you and your organizations, in the weeks and months shortly after, how you deal with it today, and last but not least, what we can learn beyond the specific situation here in the Ukraine for other conflicts and for the future. So I will walk us through this series, and then we will have time towards the end also to open the floor for questions from the audience. But before we go on this journey, I'd like to invite you to let us know more about you, your role at in the very morning and on day zero of the event, and how your roles and your responsibilities evolved until today, to give us a clearer view before we go into detail. Would you like to start, Kasia? Yeah?
Yes, I can. So, first of all, hello to everyone. Good morning to the great faculty of the University of Warsaw, to the representatives of the city mayor, to you, Castulus, but also to the friends from Ukraine. Slava Ukraini. This is something that I wanted to say for the beginning. And now responding to your question, Castulus, as Fakt is the biggest Polish newspaper and at the same time an important news online outlet. Each situation like that is a challenge, but it's also in terms of the great responsibility mostly, because one can define the need to report on war as crisis, or maybe crisis management. So if we consider this within a framework of crisis, we would need to think about the preparation, right, the response, the recovery, and the improvement. So there are actually four aspects. There's a framework in which I like to actually see things like that when it comes to adjust your operations towards it, right? So, and as you asked about day zero, and for me, I would like to say that day zero happened much before. Yeah, so I should actually pass you maybe the microphone, because we only have one. Yeah, so referring only to this day zero, what was the most important was to just set the agenda, actually. I mean, to help us all, so the editorial team, understand better what is going on, and to set the agenda, so to focus on the most important things. And since we didn't have a person in Ukraine at the moment, because you refer, as I assume that you refer to it as for February 24th, right? But even before, on February 21st, actually, Vladimir Putin has this Security Council, and he said that the claims of the separatist republics would be recognized, right? So we knew it, and so you ask about the day zero, and when I looked at fact covers from that period, I saw that we published Vladimir Putin as an imperator and as an invader on February 23rd. Right, so on February 23rd, Fact's cover was about Putin the invader with the subtitle, "The Next Partition of Ukraine," because we considered Minsk agreement and the annexation of Crimea as the first partition, right? So that was the cover with the subtitle, "The Next Partition of Ukraine." And so before 24th, we knew that situation is very serious and that it probably be long-lasting. So on February 24th, my role was actually to set the agenda for the next days and to prepare my team for the long-lasting, let's call it reporting, right, but the event of war.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you for having me here. It's a great pleasure and honor to share with you my knowledge and experience from that day. Right now I'm an anchor in an evening show. It's called Raport, Dnia, but almost 2 years ago, I was an anchor in a morning show. New Day in Polsat News, and it was actually my shift. Yeah.
So how could you prepare? You notice in the morning when you...
Actually, if I can add to what Kasa said, a few months before 24th, Joe Biden had warned that Russia would want to attack Ukraine. So we had actually a few months to prepare for that day. Actually, we didn't have idea what day would be the day zero, but we had time to prepare. We had a list of guests whom we would like to talk about it. Few weeks before 24th, we talk about the threat, how realistic it is, what should we as Poland should do, what should a European country do in case the attack, what should NATO's country do, how many people we can accommodate, because you know where is the war, there are a wave of refugees, so we knew that we had to accommodate. Słychać. So we had time to prepare. It wasn't a surprise for us, you know. We woke up on 24th and, oh my God, it's a war abroad, near our abroad. So yeah, we were prepared, actually.
Yeah, so we will come to this aspect of preparedness shortly. It's now my pleasure to welcome also the third expert here, not on the panel, but online. It's Mateusz Chłystun from RMF FM. Welcome. Can you hear us now? Can you hear us, Maciej? No, we can't hear you. I would like also to invite you to let us know your role, your responsibility on day zero, and to introduce yourself. Is that? We have a technical issue. Well, you will let me know when we have resolved.
I'm not sure if you can hear me.
Good. Yes, we can hear you.
It's a great honor and pleasure to return to my alma mater, to my university, but in a different role. I'm even more sorry that I can't be with you physically, but yeah, COVID-19 doesn't ask when it might attack. So the question is, were we prepared at the day zero? Yes, we were, but no one believed it would really happen. We were aware of the threat of the war, we knew it can be, but we rather thought that can be a counterattack on Donbass or Crimea, rather than a full-scale war. A few days later, Russian troops were near Kiev, and we had a journalist there in Kiev before the war started, my colleague Mateusz Chłystun. The problem was he flew to Kiev by plane, and he couldn't go back home. So he tried to escape from Ukraine for 4 days by car with some Ukrainian woman and her child and other Polish journalists from Polska, Patrick Michalski. So we were surprised, but we were prepared. I remember the day zero when I came to my editorial office, and before the time, because I woke up at night and I had this push-up notification that there's the war began, and everyone was in editorial before the time. Everyone was working, and my friend Krzysztof Zasada was already he was coming to Ukraine at 4 at night, 4 a.m. He just packed himself and went to Ukraine. So yeah, we were prepared, but surprised.
Thank you, Maciej, for introducing you and how you experienced day zero. So, Kasia, you also said you were prepared. How can we imagine your preparedness? Was it more a psychological preparedness that you knew it could happen? Or did you have a kind of script also to adapt by your organization in the newsroom, your programming, and did your business colleagues equally prepare themselves for this situation? Could you elaborate a bit more on what that means, you were prepared?
Yes, you know, I am not maybe allowed to say about the business continuity models and plans, because this is rather the organizational and business part of the story, but I can focus on the editorial plans and how the Fact newsroom approached actually what happened. And when I mentioned that we've been prepared, I meant the situation that happened in Poland in the fall 2021, because we were very concerned in like August 2021, when more and more migrants and refugees tried to cross the Polish-Belarusian border. And then in September 2021, the Polish government declared the state of emergency. And we've been facing this very unique situation in which we had in Poland a strip 2 or 3 kilometers wide along the Polish-Belarusian border, and Polish-Belarusian border is 418 kilometers, so it's a long strip, and you couldn't enter to this strip, to this very specific area, because if you did, you could be arrested, you could be fined, so you just were not allowed to enter it. And also the journalists couldn't do it. And so that was something new, but that was also something very concerning what is happening, because the number of people trying to cross the border from Belarus was mounting actually every day. And so first the state of emergency was declared at the beginning of September for 30 days, and then in October it was even extended for the next 60 days. Maybe a little break. Maybe a little break for the influx of guests.
The students have seated themselves. Welcome, dear students. Well, it's a fantastic opportunity to have academics and colleagues from media practice together. Let's wait until we can focus again.
So for those who just joined us, we are talking about the pre-phase of the situation.
All of you find?
Yes.
There's another seat here. They share seats. Good.
Yes, and so when the state of emergency was extended for the next 60 days in October 2021, I decided to move with a significant part of the editorial team just next to the border. So we moved our Facts headquarters from Warsaw first to Sokółka, then to Hajnówka, so to little towns who are just next to this strip that you were not allowed to enter.
How many journalists did you have there?
I mean, we have like up to 20 people then, also with the editors, also with me, my deputy. We've been changing, but we stayed there for quite a long period of time. And in this context, we became more and more prepared what was to come, because going there to the area when you have so much uncertainty, when there's military, police, border guards, when there are many things happening, where the people are estranged, it required from us to be prepared. So we not only psychologically prepared, just so sensing first, then acting, right? But also
but
technically.
Were they actually psychologically prepared? Did you do that?
We worked together. We were doing workshops. We talked about it. I also tried to measure the state of emotions of my team. So I conducted those little surveys while doing morning meetings with the team. So we talk about it. But what's even maybe more important in this context was actually that we gain knowledge about the equipment, right? So more people than only those ones who normally reported on crisis, understood what does it mean to have helmets, safety vests, and things
very
like that. Because
training.
So that was also a very, very practical training. But also there was I would say cognitive training, because when the state of emergency was imposed and when we were actually facing this crisis, this Polish-Belarusian migrant crisis, lots of fake news and misinformation appeared. And you know what, when I think about journalism, and I like to think that in 20th century, a journalist was a hunter. Right, so you came to your newsroom, or you just left. You were living newsroom, and you embarked on a journey to get news, to find information, right? Yeah. And so nowadays, yes, to be first, to come up with the information as the first one. Now, I like to think that a journalist is a miner. So you dig.
It's there.
You need to dig deep. Dig in the tremendous amounts of things that seem to be information, but are not necessarily information. So you're just digging through the noise to find information. And so that was a great training for us, that period. So in this context, when the war hit, when Putin invaded Ukraine in February 2022, we had this preparation, right? We just did all those preparations. We were ready, right? At least more ready than without it.
Yeah, as ready as you could be by that time.
As ready as possible. And especially that before, when I was the editor of Fakt, I was rather focused on domestic news, right? So that was more important to us, the domestic news, not necessarily the international situation, because the international situation didn't affect us or the average Pole that much.
Yeah. So you said that you had colleagues at the border to the Ukraine. Did you also have colleagues in the Ukraine, in the war zone?
No, at the moment when the war hit, we didn't have. And then in February, we didn't decide to let anyone go. We just sent the first team in March.
Yeah, okay. Well, we come back to that point later. Let's go on with Marta and how you how you reacted on the very morning and how you cooperated with your team.
Actually, as I mentioned, I had a morning shift. It was my program, which supposed to start at 6 a.m., but in the middle of the night, my publisher called me and he said, okay, wake up, no more sleeping, we have to start. And when somebody wakes you up in the middle of the night, you're a little bit confused.
So you started earlier than planned with your show? You broadcast also earlier?
Yes. Okay. I arrived at work around 3 a.m. and we decided to start 2 hours earlier than usually. So we, of course, had to wait for official statements or official information There were some, as I remember, meetings in the UN and speeches which we were broadcasting, of course, and Putin's speech. And we knew that was the day, that day.
Did you also get footage already from the war zone in the early morning from colleagues in the Ukraine?
Yeah, we had a correspondent in the Ukraine because, as we mentioned, a few days before.
So you had your own Polsat correspondent there
in
in Kiev?
Yeah, and when it was started, he was in Kiev.
Did he also know that this is going to happen sooner or later?
Yeah,
was he as prepared as or she as you?
A few days before the Russian troops were concentrated near the Ukrainian border, so it was obvious it matters.
Something's going to happen.
It matters of hours, maybe days. So that's why the last days before 24th, it was on some kind of standby for us, and we knew all that something's going on. That we have to be prepared. You know, as a journalist, I think you agree with me because. As a journalist, we have to be prepared for those kind of situation, for some kind of crisis. Okay, maybe not every day war starts, but you have to be prepared for, you know, something special mode. TV.
So thank you, Marta. Let's hand over to Maciej. You were in the war zone actually when the invasion happened, or did you get your information from colleagues? Can you hear me? Yes?
Yeah, at the day zero I was in Warsaw. As I mentioned, I woke up earlier than I used to because I got many push notifications on my phone, and I read in the middle of the night that the war started. So I woke up earlier and I went to work earlier, and everyone was in a editorial office at this time earlier. So the journalists had this, feeling of the mission that they have to go earlier to work because the big thing is happening. So at this time, when I woke up, my friend Krzysztof Zasada was already on his road to Ukraine. He was prepared that if something happened, he would go firstly for first days. We had already journalists there in Kyiv before the war started. So, we have covering the story from Ukraine from the very first hours of the war. But this day changed everything in radio for me because from the very first hours, we changed our antenna schedule and we had news program every 15 minutes. Every 15 minutes, which was, I think, the biggest difficulties because one thing is you have to collect information for every news program every 15 minutes and to verify them. And this was very difficult thing from the beginning of the war to today. That's what was said about the journalist as a miner. You have to find the information, verify it, and it's not so easy as it was before internet media and all this pace of news which are surrounding us. And this was for first 3 weeks. And after 3 weeks, when we started to getting tired of this every 15 minutes news programs, we deleted because we understood that this conflict will last longer than 3 weeks and that we cannot go every 15 minutes news program all the time.
So Maciej, you elaborated already a little bit that radio, of course, is a different medium, and you had to react in a different way. How did you work yourself through this avalanche of information? Did you increase your team? How many people did you have involved in weeding out all the fake news and the irrelevant information to arrive at a 50-minute cycle?
so we didn't hire new people. Of course, it's not so easy to do it in one day. But these first days of war, the domestic news almost didn't exist. So everyone was involved in Ukrainian war, in reporting about it, in verificating this information. And the first days, the whole news programs were just about war in Ukraine, about new information from battlefield, about politics around the war, by the time it was changing, because every next week the domestic news were coming back to news programs. But at the beginning, it was just everyone was. You asked about new people in the team. No, there was no new people, but we asked our people to come back from their days off. Even people who were a bit ill were working, because that was intensification of work, the biggest in my life, I think.
Maciej, how many colleagues did you have to cover news on the war in Ukraine by that time? How many did you have here in Poland, and how many did you have in the Ukraine? Just to understand
so the
first
5 days I was in Warsaw, because my friend Krzysztof Zasada, as we prepared this plan, he went firstly to Ukraine. After 4 days of war, I went to Ukraine. Firstly, we installed ourselves in West Ukraine, because that were the days when Russian troops were just near Kiev. And the first week there, I was just covering some stories about people who, how do they feel this war, being like a few hundred kilometers away from the front, from the battlefield. But rockets were already there in Lviv, Rivne, or other West Ukraine cities. But so I stayed there for a week, and then I came back for a few days just to regroup, let's say, and then I went back to Ukraine to move some farther to Ukraine, to the central Ukraine. I was in Vinnytsia, Khmelnytsky, Zhytomyr, which was like 50 kilometers from front at this time. The Russian troops were already there. And to be honest, it's very difficult to get just near the front, just where the soldiers are, and you need to be crazy, or I don't know how to say that, but this work needs something, you have to have something with your mind to go into the danger, and you have, that was the great learn for me, because at this time when I was in Ukraine, I never in my life had this feeling that my work makes sense at this time. Yeah.
To ask you to give us more details how you, with a huge organization and a huge team, did work yourself through this stream of misinformation, fake news. Did you also apply tools, or was it just human cognition that you managed to do so?
Yes, okay, so first this capacity problem, because you started talking about the capacity problem actually together with our colleagues. So just to give you a sense what happened in late February 2022, maybe I will share some data. The average number of uniques on the Polish internet in February 2022 was 30 million. And this is the historical peak, because the previous one was 30 million uniques.
30.
Yes, 30, but that's the average for online uniques in Poland in February 22nd, while the previous historic number was 28 when COVID hit, right? So the interest was even higher. I mean, people were even more interested in what's going on, and more alerted, and of course more and more people get into internet, right, on the time span, but still it was on average 30 million. So a huge interest, which means also a huge responsibility when you report. And what did it mean? I mean, it meant that people seek for information 24/7 and for very different pieces of information. And if we were more interactive here, we would maybe screen a cloud of hashtags, right? But people were asking so many questions. And I also observed diagrams of Google, which showed that the number of queries rose multiple times, like 8 or 10 times more than the average number of queries.
Did you directly react on these queries? The specific questions you received?
Of course, because this is what the modern actually newsroom is doing, is observing what are the queries and what are the things that people are searching for. And it was a really broad range, whether we are safe, whether there are shelters in Poland, where are the Putin's bunkers, what products are Russian products, how not to buy Russian products, what is happening to Ukrainians, how many Ukrainians are there, how many people entered Poland, you know, many things from all the actually possible aspects, also cultural one, because let me recall that in March, all the actually theaters or philharmonics started to dismiss Russian artists, so people also asked about it. So, I mean, a huge variety actually of questions, of queries. So it's a capacity problem, and as my colleague mentioned, you cannot hire people overnight. I mean, it's not possible, especially that those people need to be trained, need to understand the storytelling of certain media outlet and all that stuff. So you do something to deploy better the people you have. So you relocate. So mostly when we have a politics section that is covering political news, you add to that the general news journalists, right? But even also sport journalists, entertainment journalists, all of them actually. Because
so how many did you have being directly involved in covering
at the
this
beginning,
crisis?
almost all of them. At the beginning, almost all of the editorial staff worked on Ukrainian topics, but it changed over time, over I would say like 3 weeks or so. So that was the most important thing, to deploy better people and to better understand who would cover what. And as I mentioned, we didn't have at the beginning a journalist in Ukraine, so we focused intensively on the border, because on February 24th, Ukrainians started flee Ukraine. And so we very quickly discussed whether we have someone and someone trusted there, whether someone has a relative or a colleague or someone that we know that person exists, because this is about fact-checking in Ukraine. And so we contacted with a protagonist, with a person. Her name was Anna Oskierko. So that was a Polish woman living for 5 years in the city of Kyiv, having a partner and a child there. And so she was our storyteller for the beginning. So we reported how she moved from Kyiv to the border, which normally would take you like up to 3 or 4 hours, while she actually was traveling for 48 hours to the border and then facing 17 kilometers long queue to the border. So that was a journey that was showing to us all what exactly is actually happening and how our people behave.
And did she just produce text or also footage and photo documentation?
So I actually wanted to mention this in the after this part of the discussion about the innovation and how you approach actually editorial and what is happening when you work like that. So we delivered lots of video pieces.
Thank you, Kasia. Marta, you wanted to add something.
Yeah, I wanted to add about...
And I would also like to learn from you whether you cooperated with other media outlets. After all, you were not alone in the situation. On the other hand, you could cover the crisis in a very specific way, also to develop a leading edge and positioning yourself as a media brand in such a situation, covering the war in a different way. Was that also an idea in the immediate reaction, or only later? So corporations, or how did you deal with it?
I just wanted to add something about the mobilization, because it's amazing that in crisis, in those kind of situation, everybody's on a deck. There's a full mobilization in a team, and it's great to watch how people work. Nobody even think about being tired. We worked for 24 hours a day, so it was really exhausting, but everybody was on the deck at that time. What was the next question?
Well, whether you were on your own, or you also cooperated with other media outlets, with other media brands?
We cooperated with the journalists from Ukraine 24. I think it was closed 2 months after the day zero, because they didn't have advertisements, so they didn't have money to pay people. I don't know exactly the terms of this cooperation, but I know that they reported for us for a while. They were our guests, so yeah, we cooperated.
Maciej, did you cooperate in this situation, or was there simply no time to think about cooperations and you dealt with it on your own with your team? Or could you team up with other media outlets?
I can say rather about the unofficial cooperations between not maybe media outlets, but rather between journalists, which I think this kind of cooperation when you are facing some danger is quite natural. So, for example, I cooperated with Miłosz Kozłowski from Radio Z. We were traveling around Ukraine together. Also with Bartłomiej Bublewicz from Onet. As I said, Mateusz Chłystun, who was before me in Ukraine, he was cooperating with Patryk Michalski from Wirtualna Polska, and Tomasz Jędruchów, as I remember good, from Telewizja Polska. Also, so I don't remember, to be honest, like a big cooperations with all media outlets, but we started cooperation with some Ukrainian software engineers, which created this kind of, maybe you know this map, live universal awareness map. In internet, you can find it at liveuamap.com, which where are updates from Ukrainian war, Israeli war, and other wars which are verified, this information. So we used this map from Ukrainian engineers as on the field of cooperation, and we use this map in our interactive program in internet, which is called Rzut na mapę. You can translate it like a projection on the map, where we analyzed every week situation on the battlefield and some political sphere about Ukrainian war. So that was the cooperation, that we used this Ukrainian engineers map in our program.
You thought about innovations and you reacted in a systematic way, I guess, with regards to the organization in the newsroom and beyond, but probably also when it comes to programming. So how did you cover all the other content? Because there were still news in other areas that you had to cover at least a few weeks and then the month after the war. So how did you adapt to this new situation as an organization? Also maybe by the formats, yeah? You might have come up with new news formats in your programming.
Yes, well, actually a couple of things we introduced. So first, as I said, we engaged almost all the editorial team into the Ukraine case, and we decided to identify the most important paths for us, or all the areas of information. So that was, I think, that the most important aspect. So we identified that we need to deliver information for the Polish people, the Polish citizens, about what is going on and about the security issues. Then we need to deliver information to Ukrainian people, because by March 9th, we had 1.3 million Ukrainians in Poland, and there were programs for them because the new law was actually proceeded, and so we wanted to share with them the information, also to Polish citizens who were hosting Ukrainian citizens, to let them better understand what is going on. So
I think this is very important to understand also for the non-Polish guests here. It was not only an external crisis in a foreign country, it became an internal crisis with all the refugees around and the family relations you had into the country as an immediate neighbor, I guess.
Yeah, so identifying the most important actually areas for us was just one thing. The next one was adding the additional checkpoint during the day, over the day, to exchange thoughts on what is going on and so on. I ran actually a newsroom that was both print and digital. So we had checkpoints to exchange information and to pass things to each other. So we added additional one. Then we had to secure 24/7 actually reporting, so we needed to identify whether we have people to work on night shifts and what does it mean.
Change your shift structure?
Yeah, we adapted a shift structure to that. Then we added additional layer of articles acceptance, because that was also very important. I don't know whether you remember how many not only disinformation, but how much misinformation was also on the internet.
Irrelevant information, redundant information.
How we all had to learn, actually, the entire new world of Ukrainian and Russian matters. Like, do you remember when the general of the army, Gerasimov, was killed? Many of us thought that it's Valery Gerasimov, while it was Vitaly Gerasimov. And so I read so many pieces of information about it, and I understood that a person writing it does not understand actually what happened. So we understood very quickly that that we need to have the additional layer of acceptance.
So what does it mean, a layer of acceptance? You had fact checkers that.
I mean, yeah, we decided that that at least three. That first of all, we need to have two reliable. I mean, it's normal that we have two reliable sources of information, but the process is that the journalist is writing a text and the editor is accepting that. So we needed to have the additional acceptance, just to look at the article and add additional questions and so on. And plus, also we invited the photo desk to the process of accepting actually articles to be published, because photo desk actually specialists were also were equipped enough to very quickly
did you hire additional experts to check the authenticity of
at that time we didn't do it, because it's dangerous in moments like that to hire new people. I mean, you need the situation to calm down a bit when thinking about new hires, right? When you have a crisis, you just firstly focus on your best assets and try to deploy them as best as possible. So those are the things that I together with my colleagues, we decided to actually introduce when it all happened, right? So that there were the first moves, but then we had plenty of challenges, right? Like, because in late March or in the middle of March, one could observe the Ukrainian news fatigue, right? So when the curve was like that, the interest
when did
curve
that happen?
in February,
days, weeks, months.
It started in the middle of March, and you can see it in Jimmy's mega panel, but also on Google Charts. Like, the number of queries is rapidly falling down. So when you had this exponential growth at the beginning, then you had this if we can call it exponential decline.
Yeah.
So it meant that we needed to adapt. But then we also have this rise of interest when a missile hit the city of Przewodów, the town of Przewodów in Poland in the middle of November. So it was like a sinusoid, maybe, right? So and it really required from the newsrooms to adapt to that and to change accents, right? Shift accents from pure Ukrainian stuff and the military aspect
And what specifically affected you in Poland.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Kasia. Marta.
I think the verification and fact-checking was the biggest challenge because, you know, there were so many sources of information.
Yeah.
And
can you share some details? How did you actually weed out all the...
To be honest, I don't know, because, you know, it's different when you have a newspaper and you can, you have time to check the information. And it's different when you have to cover a news program every 15 minutes and in different...
Was
in
this
TV.
the cycle also, that you had every 15 minutes?
No, we had 24 hours. When I started the day zero at 4 a.m. I finished at 10 without without breaks. We didn't have advertisements, so we didn't have, even time for toilet. Yeah, until 10, and it was a huge challenge for us to verify the information. It was impossible, actually.
I understand in the days after, but then as we're discussing now, the adaptation of the whole organization of the institution to this situation, that state, how did you react on an organizational level?
We needed for sure additional people, but we didn't hire. I think, you know, I'm just an anchor, so I don't know this organizational aspect, but as I remember, we just at our people, we had to cover 24 hours broadcasting, so it wasn't easy, but as I said before, everybody was on the deck, and it was really amazing.
Did you add new formats also, or was it just that you continuously streamed and covered the
Actually,
situation?
it was 24 hours as special edition
breaking
mode.
News, special edition. And how long did this go on? For several days? When did you adapt to a more systematic and more routine organization again?
Like around 3 weeks when we see that the audience began to shrink. We decided to add some different information because for 3 weeks, I think it was around 3 weeks. At the peak of
that this fatigue was
so we for the first 3 weeks we concentrate only on the Ukraine war in the Ukraine and some different kinds of different aspects of war. So after 3 weeks, I think we decided to add something more. Domestic information and so on.
Regular news.
And advertisement because you know it's money. For a private
course.
television, it's really important.
Maciej, how did you then react as an organization? And let's come also now to today. What was then decided also to stay until today in terms of organizational, programmatic adaptations to the war situation?
So, for sure, the biggest project which we ran just after the war began in the beginning of the March, and it's still on, it's RMF Ukraine, which is our another radio station. And that's so bad that there's no other, my colleague today, Jarosław Pioterczak, who is responsible for this, but this project is still on and it's working. It's focused on Ukrainian people living in Poland and the Ukrainians near the border with Poland living in Ukraine. So that's for sure the thing stayed with us for all this time. The other thing which stayed with us is this program which I mentioned, Rzut na mapę, but it has changed during this time, because at the beginning we just were reporting about the news from battlefield. Then this battlefield information stopped to, the pace of information was changing during the war. At the beginning, the pace was enormous and it was very fast. And now the battlefield informations are quite not so fast coming. The situation is not changing as fast as it was changing at the beginning. So we changed this rzut na mapę, projection on the map, to more about the not only battlefield situation but also about politics around the war. And last weeks we changed it because of new conflict we have, Iranian-Hamas-Palestinian conflict, and this program is also about this new conflict. So as I mentioned before, this every 15 minutes program news, we couldn't stay with it for longer than 3-4 weeks, because journalists were naturally tired of overworking. So we had also night shifts, which are no more with us. We had planned our day of work, every shift, that we always have someone speaking Russian or Ukrainian to verify some information. The verifying information, we tried to verify many information. We even made some small team to only verify new information. But you have to understand that in war realities, sometimes it's very difficult or sometimes it's impossible to verify or confirm something, because at the end of the day, sometimes you have to rely on official communication from government agenda, which are part of the war, information war. So it's very difficult to verify some things. For example, BBC has whole team, plenty of people only for verifying, confirming, geolocating things. No, unfortunately, Polish media, as far as I know, don't have this richness of people and opportunities. So we have this RMF Ukraine during the first months of the war and the first winter of the war, we started the charity collections in our collect some, for example, warm clothes for Ukrainian people, and I think that's all. We changed the thinking about the verifying information, because the plan of fake news which came during the war. I think just made journalists more aware of fake news, which are everywhere.
Today's situation and how you deal with the war today, I'd like to know and understand more about an additional role many journalists took on in this outbreak of the war, in these days after the invasion. You worked not only as journalists, but you organized social support, humanitarian aid. So you became aid workers in addition to all these night shifts. How did you observe that? How did you react also as an organization? It was not just only individuals who supported the neighbors in the Ukraine, but also the news organizations themselves became active in collective action and organizing support. Kasia, maybe you're nodding and you want to elaborate a bit on that.
That has at least two dimensions. The first one is individual, as you mentioned, and the second is organizational. So in this individual context, we all observed actually the number of people working together with us, engaged personally in what was happening. Almost all the people actually wanted to convey to Ukrainians their warm feelings, and they wanted to welcome Ukrainians as warmly as possible. So in our our newsroom, we asked ourselves questions whether someone has Ukrainian relatives or friends,
Yes.
right? What is going on with them? Whether they help, whether they have the proper assistance or not. Very many of us were engaged personally in collecting, food, clothes. We've been all actually moving to the points that we're collecting those items for the people of Ukraine. But we also collected money as Fakt with Fakt Foundation, and I saw that very many media outlets did so. Also, I observed great movements of our local colleagues. I mean, so the local media in Poland actually responded greatly to the challenge of the influx of people, right? So they've been organizing packs for them. They've been organizing stays for them. They provided information. So that was really a very interesting time, actually, of that social movement.
How was it with Polsat News? Did you also organize aid, social support, humanitarian activities? In addition to your journalism duties?
Yeah, everyone opened their hearts, even Polsat as an organization, because we have 40 kilometers from Warsaw, a big hotel. We have a charity foundation called Fundacja Polsat, yeah. And we, and now I think there are still living there orphans from Ukraine. So it was really, nice gastro. From our company. Yeah, but I know a lot of people who opened even their homes for Ukrainian people. They
to give them shelter.
They take them under their roofs.
Yeah.
Even my sister gave her a flat in Warsaw because she lives in Copenhagen. My daughter, for example, gave her toys for the Ukrainian children. So
but was there also an institutional reaction, or was it more left to the individual journalists and colleagues?
Both. Institutional,
yeah. Now let's come to today. So from today's perspective, what stays in terms of reactions to the war situation? The war is still going on. We have a new war. Very close. What did you learn, and or are you back to pre-war times in terms of organization, programming? What stayed from all these immediate reactions and these reactions in the month after the invasion?
Actually, in organizational aspect, everything returned to to normal, back to normal.
Everything is back to normal?
Yeah.
But did you keep new formats or innovations, organizational adaptations, fact-checking in the aftermath?
Actually, no, it's not my part of job. So we try to learn how to verificate and fact-checking.
Yeah. Maybe, Kasia, this is more a question for you. Yeah? How did your organization now learn also for future crises, and what is here to stay from all these reactions?
Okay, but I'm the observer, as I left a couple of months ago, so I have the privilege to observe what is going on now, and so I have my thoughts and insight about it. I think that what happened in February 2022 heavily affected the way that newsrooms are working, but first of all because of the journalists' awareness. So we've been actually confronted with so many fake news, disinformation, misinformation pieces that we all became more and more aware of how malicious it can be, how malicious it can be. And this is what I said, that today I perceive a journalist as a miner rather than a hunter, right? So this is exactly, I think that we can now observe this attitude. So this is the first thing. The second thing is, and I generally very much like it, that we have now, unfortunately, I do not have specific number on that. I like to have numbers and share data.
Yes, we noticed.
But for that I cannot have. It's just my observation that we have much more explanatory journalism in the general
So
news
it
coverage.
changed overall how
Yes.
you...
And you can see it by observing how many great infographics we have showing the movements of the troops on maps, but not only that. I mean, so it's much more explanatory journalism, even because we need to explain who is who, why something is important, why we are delivering so many stories on certain aspects and all that stuff. So it's much more explanatory journalism, what I see. And the third thing is that I observe many innovative formats that's been rooted in that
general
time.
or just in the context of Fact
I mean,
as a news brand?
In general, it's my general observation, but for example, as for Fact, at the beginning of 2022, we rapidly increased the video coverage, right? So we produced much more video pieces than before because of understanding of what, Susan Sontag said, that when people see something, they trust more. They believe that it actually happened, right?
Yeah.
So if you report on that on aspect like war, right, and it's far away from your home, people need to see it to believe that it actually happened, or to internalize the scale of what happened, right? So, but in this context, let me for a moment also refer to very difficult decisions that we all had to make during the war, to publish or not to publish certain things, because reporting during the war is not only just reporting, but really bearing witness to something, right? So like when we send our team to report on what happened in Bucha, we decided to publish the pictures, to bear witness, right? Because not to let relativism to come into room, to make people really internalize what is happening there.
How did your audience react to that? And did you again then in turn react on the reactions of the audience?
We explained why we are doing so, right? And we also warned that some of those pieces would be very dramatic, and if you don't like, just don't enter, don't access, right? So, but the people were really engaged. And in general, I also have to mention that not only people searched for information, but they also stayed in news articles for a long time, like the average time spent on news media outlets on the internet was like, on a page was like up to 9 minutes, so it's a very long time span. So people were really interested what is happening, and what are all the aspects of things, and how people suffered in Ukraine, and what is the real damage of Putin's behavior. So those are my most important, I think, reflections. So the explanatory pieces, the greater awareness, and also many of the innovative formats that lasted. But also for us, the memory or the burden of those tough decisions that we had to make, and the understanding that we are also to bear witness to things, right? And this understanding of this understanding that journalism is really important, right? That people really
is this your personal observation, or did you also observe that in the broader audience, in the broader population, that there was a new kind of respect and appreciation for journalism?
I think that it's general, because when you look at the numbers showing the consumption of media during that time, not only internet, but I believe that also television or print media, you will see that people really turned to journalism.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, it's in general, it's not an easy time for journalists, right? I mean, the contemporary world, when we are disrupted by the new paradigm of social communication with social media and all that stuff. And so that moment made us all understand how important is this mission of journalism, right?
Was it also kind of a renaissance of traditional media, legacy media brands? After all these also individual news coverages by influencers and non-institutionalized
I feel that
colleagues, because they also covered the situation in Ukraine. Did it change also this war situation, the relationship between institutionalized journalism?
You know, what I like in contemporary world is that the people have possibility to use very many sources of information, right? And that's great. And not only journalistic ones, but very many of them, also disseminated via social media and so on. But when I witnessed this great turn into journalism, I realized that people still treat it as reliable sources of information. So whether they see...
More than the individuals,
yes,
the
like more in
so-called
depth.
Influencers.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you, Kasia. With that, I would like to open the panel also for questions from the audience, and I invite you to ask your questions to the experts and get some more insights on details we might have not covered enough so far. Are there questions from your side? Maybe the students take the opportunity. No more questions? Well, let me ask you a question, dear students. How did you observe a change in news consumption behavior during this time of the war? François, you have a question.
Thank you. I think our lack of questions is just really because you've given us so much to think about. So thank you very, very much. That was amazing. I just want to pick up on the last point, you know, that you were making, which was that there's a new place or a new kind of negotiation of the place of journalism after this or during this crisis, because it's not over, and this war. Are you seeing that, is that just anecdotal, or are you seeing that in your relationships with other stakeholders, people or, you know, government, business, not just audiences, is that they are starting to realize what we might lose if we lose, you know, public interest news providers?
I mean, thank you for that question. First of all, I see it in numbers, as I mentioned, right? I see it in numbers, so you can basically quantify it, right? That people consume more and more, actually, information on, let's call it traditional media sites, right? I mean, the sites that are being offered by the publishing houses that have newsrooms, so in this context, it is traditional. But reflecting more broadly on what you actually asked, I would say that I very much like this acronym that was coined by Warren Bennis in the 80s, VUCA, for the world that is characterized by, it's an acronym, right? The world that is characterized by V for volatility, U for uncertainty, C for complexity, and A for ambiguity, right? And I think that if we define world as a VUCA place, so a place where things are happening very fast, the situation is volatile, you don't know what you will face the next day. I think that having the reliable sources of information is very important because it lets you sense the situation so that you could so that you could formulate your response to that situation. And so whether it's, COVID-19 or it's the war or even new laws or the new government, I think that having reliable sources of information is a very useful tool. So in this context, media play not only a role as a, fourth power, right, or the check and balance actually tool, but it's also a useful tool to navigate through life. And I think that we proved it during the war in Ukraine and during the COVID that we still are the reliable source of information, because at least we have people who are witnessing something and we have the procedures that help us validate information, right? Yeah.
Thank you, Kasia. Are there more questions? Please, take the opportunity. Yeah, you do it.
Hello. Since we're talking since a long time about, or in scholarship in academia, we're talking about what we can look at as researchers. So I'd like to ask you a question as practitioners. What is your recommendation for us to research on? So especially if we look on the war in Ukraine, so maybe as well the media situation.
Thank you. Marta, you might want to react on that?
Actually, I'm in a good position because I don't have to make any difficult decisions, so it's not my job to verify the information. I just get the information and I have to trust it is truth. Maybe you can add something, because,
But do you see, desiderata, what would help you to better understand in terms of research?
For sure, you need a reliable source of information. It's the most important. So nowadays there are a lot of sources of information, and you have to just check in 2 or 3
so
other
understanding
sources.
what makes media brands reliable, trustful.
Yeah, for sure.
And how to foster that trust. Maciej, maybe you have something to add here. What would be a research issue that would help you also in your everyday work to have more insights or answers?
To be honest, I'm not feeling a good person to give this kind of recommendations, but I think the most important thing is the first thing which was said by Marta, about having a good sources of information, trusted sources. But I think the most interesting thing now it's to research on Ukrainian society and the future of this society. And you cannot do this without going there, without talking with these people. And I think the future of the Ukrainian society, about the demography of this country, the future of economics after the war, and it's very huge pole to research, but it's very difficult to do it right now during the war.
To take your question on research to education, because we also educate journalists, media managers.
I love the question.
So please, Kasia, let us know how should we react as educational institutions.
I would maybe first refer to this research question, if I may, because I love this question, because there are so many topics actually to be researched, and that's great that there's interest on it. So one of my questions would be, who is setting the agenda today? And this is in context of the last question, right? How often does Twitter set the agenda? So how many articles that were published in a certain period of time were driven by the information disclosed on Twitter, for example, or on Facebook? Or how many of them were just genuinely published on the websites? So this balance between social media and the traditional media, it's something for me interesting to be researched. Then the second question is, and it refers to my reflection of my work, because I'm not only happy about my work, I have also some concerns, right? And just because, as I mentioned, I left the publishing house that I worked with, a great one, but I left. So I have now a time for reflection, and I realized, for example, that when the war started, we increased the number of male voices in our editorial, right? So for me,
increased the number.
Yeah, for me, it was very important to have balance, to publish, men's opinion, women's opinion, to have that kind of balance in our editorial. But when war started and during the next months, we mostly quoted men experts like General.
Was that a conscious decision, or
no,
did
that it just happened? My consciousness is greater now when I reflect on that. But still, if I was to do it again, I would have tried to have much more female voices, because I believe that there are also very many interesting female experts on war, on tactics, right, on equipment, on politics, on geopolitics and all that stuff, while we've been mostly actually quoting men. So yeah, so this is the second thing to be researched. I have also a couple of more ideas, but maybe we'll share.
Maybe you share some more ideas. How should we react in terms of education, higher education, training journalists, educating the future journalists and media managers? Did this specific situation, and also, well, we know now that there are new crises. We have another war. There are also natural disasters that lead to crisis in communication. Is there something we should learn and maybe also more specifically train young journalists for how to behave in such a situation? Or is it so non-routine, so situational that you cannot really prepare in an academic setting for something like that?
I think that we have to actually two skills or two sets of characteristics actually to go through that kind of situations, and those are cognitive skills that you can master. And I believe that the universities are mastering those skills, the cognitive skills, just critical thinking, understanding what is going on, what is fact and what is opinion and all that stuff. And the second thing is, I think, maybe resilience. I mean, what does it mean to be resilient?
So it's more a soft skill development.
So soft skills, because we, as my colleague mentioned, when things like that happen, it means for a journalist to very often work for 24/7. And then what is happening? You are losing your relations with your closest ones, with your family, with your friends and all that stuff. You totally focus on that matter. And it's not maybe the best idea, because you need to still have your cognitive skill and critical thinking. So it is important to know how to recharge, how to disconnect, right? How to do it. I mean, and those are techniques that are...
Would you agree to that, Marta?
And how to rest after work, because we need to rest when you work 24 hours a day. It's really exhausting, and you need to learn. It's not easy, learn how to rest.
Yeah, did you learn it?
No.
So, yes, it's 11 o'clock. Thank you very much for this great insights, for all the details. Marta, Kasia, Maciej, fantastic. Thank you so much. And with this, I hand over again to Anna, maybe for some organizational issues that we don't get lost.
So, dear guests, right now we're going to have a coffee break, which is on the ground floor, and please, it's about 30 minutes, and then we go to the seminar of Journal and Media Business Studies, room number 0.04, number 4. Okay, so see you soon. Thank you.
It was fantastic. We could have gone on for another hour. Yeah?